Yo, what up, YouTube? Welcome back to lesson number 5 here with Learn with Earthquake Dude. Today, we're going to talk about seismic waves and all the different types and how to locate the epicenter of an earthquake. I hope you guys are ready, have your questions ready, and get ready. Learn with me. If you haven't already, you can follow me on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, earthquake_dude. Come show me some love. And without further ado, let's get started on today's lesson, seismic waves. All right, so the seismic waves. So after when an earthquake happens, energy is released via seismic waves. Now there's two types of seismic waves. The first ones are known as body waves, and body waves travel through the interior of the earth. There's two types of body waves. There's the P waves, which also known as primary waves, and they're the fastest traveling waves, so they always arrive at a seismograph first. Then you have the S waves, which are the secondary waves, and they always arrive second at the seismograph, right? So those two are the body waves, and you notice the blue line, they travel through the interior of the earth, hence the body. Now, additionally, the slower waves, also known as surface waves, and you got it right, travel through the outside of the earth on the surface of the earth. There you can see the green line. These waves travel through the surface. Now, those are the slowest ones and the last ones to arrive at a seismograph. Now, there's two different types of surface waves, but to keep it simple, we'll just say surface waves. But there are two different types, and they do have different motions, and I'll show you that in a little bit. There's the love waves and the rate wave. Okay. Now, in an earthquake, the damage comes from the surface waves. Just keep that in mind. Okay. So let's look at this. Hey, do you guys remember from last week? Is this a seismogram or a seismograph? I'll wait. If you said seismogram, you are correct, right? The seismograph is the instrument that records the earthquake shaking, and the resulting picture or the resulting data is the seismogram, which is what you see. So remember, squiggly lines describe seismogram. Okay, but if you look closely, you can see the arrival of the P wave, which is that little bump right there. You can see the arrival of the S waves. And last but not least, you can see the arrival of the surface waves. And notice the surface waves have a higher amplitude, which means stronger shaking. Those are the waves you feel during an earthquake. Okay, so there you go. There's another way to show you what we're talking about. You got some background noise. There's the arrival of the P wave, S wave, and surface waves, and they always arrive in this order: P wave, S wave, surface waves, every single time. Okay, let's go into a little bit more detail on some of these body waves. Starting off with the P wave. Again, fastest moving wave. These things travel from 4 to 7 kilometers per second in the crust and into the mantle, and they're a compressional wave, which they compress and dilate as they propagate through the Earth's layers. So you can see compression, dilates, all that stuff, right? Again, super fast wave can travel through anything. Now, the S wave is slower than the P waves, but still faster than the surface wave. And they travel around 2 to 5 kilometers per second, and they're more of a shear wave, which means the particle motion is perpendicular to the direction in which the wave propagates. And the little important detail here for S waves, they can only travel through solids. That's how we know the Earth's core is made of liquid, because we lose these S waves throughout there. But that's a story for another. Now, for the surface waves, again, I mentioned we had two. We had the love wave and the Rayleigh wave. Okay. Now, the love wave, shear waves that are restricted to near the Earth's surface, so they travel more of a side to side, almost like a giant snake slithering underneath the ground. The Rayleigh waves are more of a rolling ocean. Again, these are the earthquake waves that you feel when there's a big earthquake. These are the waves you feel. Okay. So now that you have a background on the different types of seismic waves, how do we measure the epicenter of an earthquake? Well, it all starts with finding the time delay between the arrival of the P wave and the arrival of the S wave. Now, in general, when the epicenter of an earthquake is close to a seismic station, the time delay is usually going to be small, and that's because they don't have to travel that far to get to the seismic station. But an earthquake epicenter and a station that's much, much farther away, the P wave is going to outrun the S wave, making the time delay much, much bigger. and that helps you identify that that station is farther away. But to keep it simple, small time small time delay means closer to earthquake epicenter. Bigger the time delay means you're further away from it. Okay, so if we look at a time delay, we can measure that, and now we can apply this and see how far away from the epicenter we are, or from the station. So to locate the epicenter, we have to use at least 3 seismograms, right? But there's hundreds of stations out there, so we get a lot of data. But the minimum is 3. Okay, and for each of the seismograms, you got to complete the following steps, which is 1, figure out that time delay. What's the time arrival of the P wave and the S wave, and see what the difference is. From there, we're able to plug it in to this cool little graph, like right there, and then go down and then across, and that tells you the distance to the earthquake. Now, the distance is a key distance. You don't know in what direction the distance is, but you know the total distance, right? So this is where the cool little circles come here, right? If we have 3 stations and we plot the distances and draw circles based on the radius being the distance, you get a circle that looks like this. It doesn't matter what direction you go towards, it's always going to be 160 kilometers. And you do that for all 3 stations, and at that point where all 3 circles intersect, that is your epicenter. Pretty cool, huh? So that's a physical way to do it. Nowadays, all the instruments do it by themselves, so they calculate the epicenter pretty quickly. But that's how we would do it. And that's how you find an earthquake epicenter. Super simple, right? We understand the surface waves, the body waves. We understand time delay and how to use the time delay to locate the distance from the earthquake epicenter, which then allows us to plot these circles with the radius being equal to the distance to the epicenter, and then we're able to get our epicenter. Okay, so super simple lesson. I hope you guys learned something about the surface waves, or how we calculate the epicenter on earthquakes. Okay, so this is the end of lesson 5. I guess I'm not trying to go too long on these videos, but I have so much more other content and other classes and subjects that we got to talk about. So make sure you guys leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Lesson 6 will drop soon. I can't thank you enough for watching, guys. And I'll see you guys very soon. Have an awesome day, guys.